Well, it's that time of year again. Thanksgiving is right around the corner. One of the first things you see at Two Fish Baking Company, located in the Stewart's Point store, is pumpkins cut in half, fresh pumpkins, by the way, cut in half, put cut side down on a sheet pan. And what we do first is we're going to roast those pumpkins. We clean them out, get all the seeds and guts out, pop them in the oven for about 45 minutes. Once the pumpkins themselves are soft to the touch, we scrape out the insides into a food processor and puree the meat, as it's called. Once we do that, we transfer the puree into plastic bags for freezing. We start this process at the end of September when the sugar pumpkins are nice and ripe and readily available. This is the process of starting a fresh pumpkin pie. Here at Two Fish, we like to use the fresh pumpkin as opposed to using the canned pumpkin. We think it delivers a fresher flavor. Then we add a few simple ingredients. All these ingredients you can pronounce: eggs, cinnamon, nutmeg, sugar. And we whisk it together with some of the fresh pumpkin puree. We're going to add the eggs and the sugar and the puree and make it into a nice batter. The cream goes in last. The cream is really important. Fresh cream, it just really rounds out. It's almost like making a pumpkin pudding, but you're going to bake it in a pie crust. Now, here at Two Fish, we make large batches of pie crust, and people always ask, what is the secret to making good pie crust? My secret is to do it often. If you make pie crust often, then you'll know the ins and outs of it, what you're looking for right off the bat. Here at Two Fish also, we only use an all butter crust. We make the pie crust ahead of time, we freeze it in 9-ounce discs, and that way we have exactly what we need for each pie. So first we let it thaw overnight, and then we roll it out. You don't want a lot of flour or a lot of rolling. A few quick rolls and you should have your nice circle. Your pie crust should overlap the rim of your pie tin, because that way you can make a nice fluted edge. When you're dealing with the pumpkin pie, you want your fluted edge to be a little high to create a little more depth. Also, when you put your pie crust into the pie tin, you want to kind of get those corners. That way you don't have a sloping pie crust. We're also going to use a piece of foil and some beans. These beans are dried, and we only use them for baking pie crust. This is called a blind bake. On a blind bake, you want to weight down the pie crust so it doesn't puff up. And this way, the dried beans will help the pie crust keep its shape. Again, we only use these beans for baking crusts. You can't eat the beans after. They're really of no use afterwards. See that nice golden pie crust? Now it's not completely baked. You want it par baked. That way you'll ensure a nice crispy crust on the bottom. And again, to ensure that you get nice sides on your pie, you want to push those beans into the side of the pan. That way it'll keep its height and you'll have enough depth to get some of that pie filling into it. It's going to go in the oven now for about 25 to 30 minutes. Again, you don't want to fully bake it, but you want a nice base started with the butter and flour coming together. Next, we're going to add the filling. We like to ladle it in gently. Again, we don't want to break the pie crust, but also we want a pretty pie when it comes out. So this is going to take about 16 to 20 ounces of pie filling. Once the pie goes in the oven, it's going to bake again for about another 30 to 45 minutes. The way to make sure that your pumpkin pie is done You're going to tap the top of it with your finger. If nothing comes off on your finger, then your pie is done. Look at that beautiful pie.